So now we're going to take a few minutes and talk about one direction where forensic analysis is heading, and that's using emotional analysis for forensics. It's not mainstream for forensics, but it is definitely heading in that direction. So let's talk about local email. We already took a look at a program that could gather email on your local computer, and then, I don't know how many emails most people send, but, a couple thousand emails. It's not a hugely tremendous amount of emails to actually look through or examine. If you're looking at a local computer, the email, if you're looking at a local computer, the volume of emails on it is a manageable data set. Once you gather them, they can be analyzed, and you can reach your conclusions based on those analyses. Server-based emails are quite a bit different. Many companies and organizations have just tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of emails in their database. Their mail server just contains countless. Their email server is going to contain just many, many, many emails. If you have to actually look through the emails on a server, you would be hard-pressed to come up with a strategy where you could actually find the emails that you're looking for. Now, there are some strategies, but examining the emails on a server in order to find artifacts for a case is very, very difficult. And this is mainly due to the sheer volume of the emails. You can actually get access to them provided the IT staff will let you. Of course, most IT staffers are very, very particular about who can get access to emails. Generally, you're going to need some sort of a warrant or some sort of a cooperative agreement with the IT department in the company. You could actually scan the entire database and read each email. This would take a group of dedicated readers a lot of time and effort, and continuing to read would be great, but then more and more emails are added every day, so it's not like you'd ever really get to the end of the task. This would just not be a very practical solution. You could look for keywords related to your investigation. This would miss a lot, but this is being done today, that looking for keywords related to the investigation. So there are tools that do this. Still, though, looking for keywords doesn't tell you the whole story. So there's a better way, and the better way is to scan emails and come up with an understanding of what the emails are. And we can do this with a sentiment analysis. And it's done by using natural language processing techniques and machine learning techniques. The natural language processing techniques actually learn from a body of emails or Twitter feeds or whatever, and they arrive at the sentiments. Sentiments are a thought, view, or attitude, especially one based mainly on emotion instead of reason. So essentially what it's doing is trying to pick out the sentiments from emails. Then it does a sentiment analysis, and sometimes this is called opinion mining. As I said, it uses natural language processing and computational techniques to automate the extraction or classification of sentiment from typically unstructured text. So this is machine learning techniques, and essentially these machine learning techniques are going to fall into the area of a technique called clustering, where you don't in advance know what you're going to find, but they cluster and form these groups or buckets of sentiments. So what's the motivation for doing this other than forensic analysis? Well, consumer information, for instance, product reviews. Companies would love to automatically take a product review or a group of product reviews and know what people are saying without having to pay people to directly read them and sort of distill the reviews down to meaning. So take, for instance, Amazon. When people leave reviews on Amazon, they have just millions and millions of reviews on Amazon. It'd be really nice if they could go through and kind of mine the meaning out of the reviews instead of having to have people read them. And in fact, they do. Marketing. So establishing consumer attitudes by reading Twitter feeds and blogs and so forth, and really establishing trends that are popular today. So for marketing people, this is very important. Politics, obviously, there's an application. Politicians want to know how voters feel, and there are so many blogs out there. So if you could actually go ahead and spider the web, and then once you get to a political blog, if you could go ahead and come up with a sentiment analysis, you would know how that one particular blogger feels, and then if you aggregate that, you would kind of get to know how the whole blogosphere feels. And for politicians, this would be really good, because then they could pick out what's working and what's not working, and make changes accordingly. So voters want to know politicians' stances and who else supports them. And social, you want to find like-minded individuals or communities. But added to that list is us, the forensic investigator. We want to be able to look through a huge body of emails or blogs or database of a database of text, and we want to be able to find the outliers. We want to be able to find something that has bearing on what we're investigating at the time. So here's the problem. Which features do we target in on? Do we look at words, which I've already mentioned doing a keyword search? And keyword searches do have validity, especially if the keywords are very specific and targeted keywords. Okay, if what you're looking for is, say, maybe drug-related terms, then chances are you can find those pretty quickly. But if you're looking for if you're looking for ideas that have to do with how you feel about, say, a company policy, or how you feel about maybe getting even with your boss or whatever, the keywords may not work. Phrases actually work a little bit better, because phrases carry more meaning than words. Not just that there are more words in a phrase than a single word, but that phrases are going to be phrases are going to have sort of an aggregation of all the words, and you have actually a richer meaning to a phrase than a single word. Lastly, though, sentences are your best bet. A sentence is a complete thought which can give you much more information than a word or a phrase. So how do you interpret features for sentiment detection? Well, you can have a bag of words, a database of words that you're looking for, such as I mentioned, maybe drug-related words. If you're on a drug case, and you might look for, say, the word heroin or cocaine or something. You can use annotated lexicons, WordNet, CentaWordNet, and so forth. You can actually look for syntactical patterns, and you can look for paragraph structure. So these are all really standard techniques. But there are quite a few challenges to doing this. It's harder than topical classification, with which bag of words features perform well. Okay, bag of words, remember I talked about this clustering idea where you cluster everything together and drop everything into a certain bucket. Besides that, though, you must consider other features due to subtlety of sentiment expression. So the English language, or really any language for that matter, has a lot of subtleties in sentiment expression. So it's not just the word joy means you're happy. It could be the name of a person, It could be sort of soap, dishwashing liquid or something. So you got to be really careful because there's always a context to all of these words. There's also irony that might be at play. There's also sarcasm that might be at play. Expression of sentiment using neutral words. So we have a domain or a context dependence. Words and phrases can mean different things in different contexts and domains. The effect of syntax has a large effect on semantics. So what approaches can you take? Well, there are machine learning approaches. The naive Bayes is the easiest one, and that is probably the most common. Naive Bayes actually uses a technique of determining probabilities, that if you have one word, then what's the probability that other words will follow? And if you know the probabilities that other words will follow, you actually can do a much better job of determining the actual meaning, rather than just some sort of a random, here's a word, here's what it means. Okay, maximum entropy classifier, and this is where you take words and phrases and sentences, and you figure out how to classify them based on nothing more than their juxtaposition with each other and their context. Now SVM, this is a supervised model where you're actually picking out words, but you know what they should. So when you do supervised machine learning, you actually have a data set and you know what the outcome should be, and so you use it to train the intelligence based on an input and a known output. Many times we use neural networks for this. And a very powerful method is the Markov blanket classifier. And this takes into account conditional feature dependencies. It also allows reduction of discriminating features from thousands of words to about 20. Finally, we have unsupervised methods, and these actually end up using lexicons to help make sense of what they found. So there's something called a Ling pipe polarity classifier, and this is one of the latest and greatest methods. This is a very powerful model for doing the sentiment analysis. So first you eliminate objective sentences, then use remaining sentences to classify document polarity. And what this does is it gets rid of a lot of the noise. And the noise meaning, and by noise we mean words that don't sort of affect the final outcome, sentiment, or meaning. Ling pipe polarity classifiers use unigram features extracted from movie review data. Okay. It assumes that adjacent sentences are likely to have similar subject-objective polarity, and it uses a min-cut algorithm to efficiently extract subjective sentences. So there are actually data sets that you can use in your own programming if you want to. This is actually how I developed recent technology on my own. I used I actually used some of the known data sets out there. You can use ternary classifiers, positive, negative, and neutral scores for each sin set. And it provides means of gauging sentiment for a given text. So I wanted to show you a technology that I recently worked on. And its purpose truly is to do sentiment analysis on large bodies of emails. And in order to develop it and to test it, I went ahead and used some publicly available emails. These were from the famous Department of State emails. And based on all of these emails, I was able to, this is an aggregate overall stats of the entire body. I think I used 30,000 emails. So you can get for one person. Let's see. Go back to the overall stats. You can do it on a date range. Okay, so that shows you the analysis. I went through these 30,000 emails, and it was pretty fast. It took less than a minute to go through all 30,000 emails. So not only could I do the overall stats, but then I could find outliers for someone who actually maybe had some emails that were really off base. For instance, this person had quite a few emails that were angry, and he was disgusted. So this is a really good way to go ahead and find. So this is a really good way to find who in a company or an organization has an issue. You can also go to singleton stats and find out, well, let me see just what's going on in terms of anger. And these are very angry. These are the most angry emails that the database returned, and it shows you what it is. So here you can use sentiment analysis to go through and find emails that mean that are either angry or disgusted or joyful. What is interesting though is I have a real-time analysis, so you can actually come in here and type and it will actually generate a report based on that. The overall score is high and the joy is high. So now this one actually shows a lot of anger, disgust, fear, and sadness. So I invite you to go out and try this tool. Now, I had a client also who had a specific need. You know, nowadays companies and organizations are getting really, they're finding that inclusion and diversity are powerful tools to enhance their, really to enhance their bottom line. They found that inclusion and diversity are good things for companies. So I had a client recently that had me add to this. Okay, so this is a simple demo. This is a test. You are not welcome. Go home and get lost. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so the inclusion, as you would have guessed, besides the sentiments that you would have guessed, the inclusion is at a fairly low level. In fact, a negative level, just because I purposely typed this so that inclusion would not be there. So anyway, you can add to the sentiment analysis anything you want. So if you had some sort of forensic investigation. So if you had some sort of forensic investigation and you had some specific need for something that you needed to analyze, you could actually have it added. Now, I'm not saying it would be easy, and I'm not saying it would be fast, but it could be done. I think I added the inclusion in about 3 or 4 weeks.